I just think it's beautifully executed. The way it's revealed is very moving for me personally, because I have a son who's nonverbal. I understand the power of words. I'm getting shaken off a bit talking about it now.
Is Jimmy just trying to become like the new Jesus, telling people that God sent the zombies there, I'm the Messiah? No, he's just batshit fucking crazy.
He really is nuts.
We're going back to the themes of it's going to be military and then the anti-military. Basically, that's the theme of the first. The military become the bad guys, which we're seeing in Minneapolis, Minnesota in real life.
Hello, friends and listeners. Welcome to another episode of Watch Skip Plus. We are the movie review podcast that we hope is your go-to source for insightful and pop-cultured movie reviews. My name is Jose, also known as Cupcake. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike, the WillDaBeast, and our special guest, Rob, from the podcast Caliber 9 from Outer Space, which examines off the beaten path fare, Italian crime, horror crime, all of that stuff. We love Rob. So if you haven't noticed already from the tag, this is the spoiled review of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. So what that basically means is that you want to turn around if you haven't seen it, because we are going to spoiler it. All right, so I'll start with you, Rob. We danced around a lot about Ralph Fiennes and the Alpha. What are your thoughts on that particular storyline and the fact that, like Mike had hinted, they become buddies in some ways? They form this relationship.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Mike made a good point about you can lose people there. And I got to be honest, against my best wishes, I was ready to be lost, because I was like, hang on a minute. I don't think I like where this is going. This is ridiculous. It sold it to me. I think it kind of works. My only issue is, again, this gets back to my point about 28 weeks later. If you could treat this with morphine, which makes sense medically, I get that, and then by antipsychotics, we had a whole film 28 weeks later where, you know, you had the entire UN or US military setting up camps. They had captive infected. They've never tried this before. It seems it's a bit easy how it's done it, but I went with it. It was okay. And the way they build it up is quite well done. And I think what really saves it to me is I just think it's beautifully executed. The way it's revealed is very, very moving. I think actually that scene where he's about to euthanize him because he's running out of morphine. He can't keep wasting it on him. He's been dosing him with morphine because he's a scientist and he's curious and he wants to see what effect this will have. And it's a wondrous thing that he can kind of tame one of these infected, even if it's for a short while. But also he wants the company, I think, and he befriends Samson. But then he's running out of morphine. He says, look, I just can't keep doing this. I've been absolutely binging you on this stuff and I'm going to run out, and goes to euthanize him. And he looks up at the moon and says, moon. And it's it's very, very moving. It was very, very moving for me personally, because I have a son who's nonverbal. And so I understand the power of words like that. Yeah. So yeah, it's I'm getting shaken off a bit talking about it now. But it's just so well done. It's so well judged. So all that stuff about scientifically, would they have figured this out? Is this real? It's a little bit convenient that you can do this. Nah, it's fine. I'm gonna go with it. It might be over.
Well, he mentions it's his own concoction, including a heavy amount of morphine. So it might have been
and
that,
xylazine.
Yeah, so it was maybe that mixture that he has created that has allowed it. Which
he's a particularly clever guy. He's cleverer than the US military doctors. Yeah,
we could say that, or maybe he's had more time with them before.
So it's interesting if you go back to 28 weeks later. What ended up happening was that the wife had been bitten. They brought her in and they did a blood transfusion, right? And she got cured. And then it led to that really horrible scene where the husband was zombified and then she has to die a second time, basically by being like ravaged and eaten by her husband, right? And so I think to address your question about 28 weeks later, Rob, I think they were in the process of learning these things, but then there was the chaos.
Could be.
Well, they
right?
did,
Yeah.
right? We saw that the world is healed outside of this island. So they talked about how it's the rest of the world is
Well,
fine.
they had eradicated it, I think, because what
Through
happened was
some-
is if they don't eat, they get really slow or whatever, and then I
Yeah.
think they just So I mentioned in the spoiler free that it's kind of based in science,
Yeah.
and then I want to return to another point actually, which I thought was very interesting in the beginning of the film. But so he doses him with the morphine, and he becomes very docile, and he's in a trance or whatever. So we have therapy now where people take modified ecstasy, and they go on a kind of trip where they go very, very deep into their subconscious. And then they see things and they have insight. And so that's where this kind of goes. Like in this trance-like state, Alpha becomes the person that he was, because now there isn't all the rage and everything that's at this level. He's gone deeper. And so, as this is happening, and then they start to dance, and so it progresses. And then when Ralph Fiennes licks the arrow and trips with him, I was like, girl, you're going to be a buffet for this man or whatever. And then when he wakes up, he's like, oh, I'm still attached or whatever. And the Alpha has not eaten him, but has sort of remembered, oh, this is somebody who is beneficial, who makes me feel nice. I'm not going to eat him. But I can just see people being like, fuck this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just checking out.
It reminded me of ketamine therapy. We have friends that have that.
Right,
use
exactly.
that for mental
Ecstasy,
health. So,
ketamine therapy. Yeah.
So that's really what that's really what it was vindictive of. That's really helping people, and we're seeing it all over. And that was kind of cool. I like that as a social commentary, that we should be experimenting with these drugs that we villainized and for so long, and they might have other things that we don't know about that can help us. So
Yeah. And I thought that was pretty audacious, actually. The fact that he's effectively using heroin as a kind of civilizing influence almost. It's interesting.
It's a huge swing, especially considering how beneficial it is, and it allows Ralph Fiennes not only to study Alpha, but then, like you said, he's been so lonely living out there in the Bone Temple. He has a friend, and let me just tell you something. I love Duran Duran, and so he's listening to these Duran Duran songs. I'm singing along or whatever. And then, he's dancing or whatever. And I think Alpha is like, did Alpha like maybe grumble Rio or something? I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, does he? Missed that.
But they're like dancing together. And
there's a bit where
when
Samson kind of dances. When the Jimmies come and they're looking through binoculars at them, there's a great shot
he's like this,
where, because most of the
slightly.
time Samson's just sort of swaying there doing nothing. And it's Ralph Fiennes that's dancing around, and this is bit he grabs his hand, and you can see Samson does a little bit of the head nod like he's dancing along. It's so cute. And apparently, I think I was reading about that. I think that was improv on the spot. He wasn't. Lewis-Parry wasn't necessarily supposed to do that, but they decided to leave it in. They're like, okay, that's enough. There's not too
that
much.
tracks. It's good. It's good. But speaking of things in the first film where I'm like, please explain. I saw the poster of Simon Le Bon in the first film, and I was like, why in Dr. Kelson's Doomsday trailer is there a poster of Simon Le Bon?
Yep.
And then they finally explained it. Thank God. So the thing that I wanted to return to in the beginning is that, Alpha attacks a sort of like marauding family that's trying to like get food for itself, right? And when Samson goes to attack the guy, the guy is screaming, and there's a flash of what Alpha sees, and he sees him as an infected person.
As a monster.
I wanted more of that, actually. I was expecting more of that. We never got that POV again.
But I was confused. I was like, wait, what? And then what we come to find out is, and this is where Ralph Fiennes starts to discover that maybe there could be a cure for this, is that what he is seeing is the infected people, and so he is trying to, I guess, eradicate it. That's why he's ripping the heads off of these people, because he only sees infected, right?
It's a form of psychosis. And then Jimmy is another form of psychosis. So
Yes,
it's
exactly.
a lot of examinations of how this type of world creates this, everyone just going crazy through different forms of psychosis. And
yeah, we talked about in the first film how much it was about family, and I was interested to read that somewhere today that I think Nia DaCosta it was who was being interviewed, and she said the first film is an examination into the nature of family. This one is an examination into the nature of evil. And that's quite interesting because it's kind of like, so what is the evil of the infected? And the answer is partly it is a sort of, it's a defense response. They are constantly in this weird psychotic state where they think they need to protect themselves by attacking. Whereas what is the evil of Jimmy? I don't know, because this is the scarier one, right? Because it's a bit hard to explain, and I'm not even sure how much his character makes sense other than you sort of throw your hands up in the air and go, well, he's just crazy. But it is
so that's the thing.
There's
like
trauma there, definitely. But
I think this film's definitely, an examination of evil, but also what I got out of it is, how we view life obviously is colored by our perceptions, right? And so you read all these books about neuroscience because our perceptions are so strong that even how we see life can't really be trusted because we're a product of our perceptions. And so what I love about this sort of meta level storytelling that Alex Garland is doing is that Alpha is the way he is because of the virus and his perceptions. And Ralph Fiennes thinks that there is a way to cut through that layer to give him a clearer perception of what's really happening inside their body. And Jimmy is a product of his perceptions because, like Mike had mentioned, trauma. I guess it comes out that his father is abusive, or I guess, or something, or he felt like his father wasn't present because his father was really more involved in the church.
Yeah.
And I think what they were playing with is, is Jimmy just trying to become like the new Jesus? Like that's kind of where this was going. Like, telling people that God sent the zombies there, I'm the Messiah, right? And so at one point I'm thinking, okay, he's just greedy and power hungry. He wants to rule the world. And then later it's revealed, no, he's just batshit fucking crazy.
He really is nuts. Yeah, you do wonder because he rules this team he's got through what I was sort of at first took to be disingenuous. He's just lying to them, saying all this stuff.
Well, it's like cold
Them.
brainwashing.
Yeah.
Right?
And then this all comes to a head when what's her name? Jimmy, is it Jimmy Inc? The one who's a bit nicer, who befriends
Jimmy Inc, yes.
And she says she's
played
seen
by
him.
Erin Kellyman, who was really becomes a standout in this film.
She's really good in this.
But go
actually.
ahead,
yeah. And
so
she sees
nicer.
him, and when she mentions it to him, she thinks she's seen old Nick. He kind of reacts like, that shouldn't happen. And I read that as, he knows it's not old Nick because he knows old Nick doesn't exist. But then we realized later, no, he really does think it might be old Nick, and he really does hear him in his head all the time. I like that line delivery when he says that to Kelson. And he says, does he talk to you in your head? He's like, all the fucking time, all the time. And he's telling the truth.
And that's a commentary on like mental illness too, definitely.
Yep.
But what's interesting is that so the opening scene, which by the way, Scooter he missed a little bit of the opening scene because for whatever reasons at our Regal, they leave the lights on when the movie starts.
Ugh, I hate that.
It doesn't, I know. So he had to run out. But anyway, so in the beginning, it jumps right in. They're at this like pool park, water park kind of thing. And they're in a pool and Jimmy basically is making Spike fight for his survival. He's like, you have to survive all of them attacking you, which is like, he's not going to do it. He's a kid, right? But it's gruesome because he ends up, stabbing the one guy like in his femoral artery.
Oh,
The guy just bleeds out I love how like the blood splashes Spike almost like a baptism, like welcome to your new world or whatever. And I was just like, ugh. Also, it can be seen a different way as well. But at any rate, he's, it introduces us into this whole like Jimmy way of life. Like they're all called Jimmy, like I am Spartacus, I am Jimmy, or we're all Jesus. You know what I mean? Like we're all, Jesus is in all of us or whatever. So they definitely do this whole like religious commentary stuff about him. But what did you think about just coming to this realization that they're all called Jimmy and it's like this weird cult?
It's just so random and bizarre. The fact that they would assume a uniform, even if it is something as bizarre as Jimmy Savile and the wig and the bling and all that kind of stuff, and the fact that they are really Satanists, which Kelson points out later, he's like, you're Satanists. He's like,
because they've
Satanists.
got the cross,
and the
Satanists.
upside down cross and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's a very weird form of Satanist. I like that. That's a bit of flourish. The rules of their living about having to adopt one more, and they will every now and again they'll pick one guy out to fight one of the fingers, and they've got a chance to be replaced. It seems odd, but the other thing that seems odd is I couldn't quite get my head around the concept of, in order to live you have to be a sadistic psychopath, and very convincing. They're all very convincingly so. Even Jimmy Ink, the Erin Kellyman character, she's down for it. Now, she becomes a sympathetic character, but I was left wondering, what about the bit where she misses the charities? He tells her to go off and do something, and she goes, well, I'll miss the charitable acts, which is torture.
Yeah.
And right. I thought, well, maybe she was just like putting up an act, but I'm like, well, when she was walking off through the forest, she was really pissed off that she wasn't into seeing these people get skinned alive or something. So it's odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I was raised Mormon, and I'm in a place where religion is everything. I don't see this as being far off from a reality.
It's
like
probably
somebody who was raised in a very strict religious background, and then everything that he was loving at the time of that trauma, because there's studies that when an extremely traumatic event happens, it kind of stunts you to be stuck in that world. So that's why we literally see Power Rangers, they're watching Teletubbies, Dad's religious. We see all this stuff collide at the big time when his family gets obliterated. And that becomes that moment for him, where all that stuff becomes almost the zeitgeist of what do I live? What is there for me to live? How do I live? And he's created these things in this new reality as a young age as something. And of course that leads to psychosis and the schizophrenia, just because of that harsh reality. And that's this whole world. We're seeing what this world does. Some people are lucky they have a family like the one that gets savagely destroyed by the Jimmies that we see in an extremely torturous, like, Devil's Rejects way.
Mike, do you want to introduce the scene that we've all kind of been talking about, the charity scene? Do you want to just set it up for a little bit of a discussion?
Yeah. So basically, the Jimmies are walking around, and we see another little family. It looks like a brother and a sister and a sort of father or grandfather figure, and they're out hunting for supplies like we've seen Spike's people do. And I'm guessing this is a different tribe. They're not connected to Spike's tribe. It didn't seem like they were their own thing, but they still had like a fence and they had a lock, and very similar to what we saw with Spike's tribe. And unfortunately they get in and torture this family. The Jimmies get in there, and they believe by they skin them alive. They skin them, and kind of like then that releases their souls to the devil. It's some kind of weird, that's their ritual.
Yeah, they called so apparently what happens is they take over a family or whatever, they eat, they do whatever they need to, and then they kill them, right?
Yep.
And they string them up, and then they get to choose the quote unquote charity, which Rob had mentioned is basically just torture. And so they talked about like shirts off.
The removal of the shirt.
The removal of the shirts. And basically what that means is there is a woman who I thought she was pregnant. I don't know. And then there's a very good looking, like beefy guy. And they basically like flail the skin starting at the top of their chest, and then they just pull the skin off. Or whatever.
And at first I thought, well, it's not showing it happening. Like, we're not actually seeing it come off like you would in some horror films. So I thought, oh, it's steering clear of that. But then later on, you see them in their skinned state, and it's like,
and then the skin just drops off. And then there is a cute boy who's a boyfriend, and the girl is watching all of this. The girl manages to like kind of get away, and she's like watching from like the roof. So that whole thing about watching your family getting skinned alive, terrible. But one of the psycho girls, she's like, I want to do the charity pants off or whatever. And she doesn't quite get to finish it because that guy gets the upper hand in a really fantastic and gruesome way.
Yeah.
That whole sequence with the fire and everything, my God.
That was insane. That was so stressful, intense, and disturbing.
And cathartic, because you want to see these guys get roasted at this point.
Oh,
these
yes.
bastards, you want to see some bad shit happen to them.
When that crazy fairy bitch gets the hook in her head, I was like, yes.
She's good.
I die.
I like that actress. She's nasty. Jemima.
That was
she's
nasty.
playing.
Yeah, she was, and she has the fairy wings. That's how I knew her. I was like, oh fuck, here comes fairy wings. Yeah, that was.
By the way, did you know that the young guy who she fights, who they get to fight her, I think he's the son of Andy Serkis.
Really?
Is he? Wait, that's the sexy boyfriend I was just talking about.
Yeah, his name is. I'm only basing that on the fact that his surname is Serkis.
Looks
but
like him.
Lewis-Parry
like Circus. It looks like him. You
can tell if you look at his face. I'm pretty sure he is.
Hang on, wait. I have to research this because,
dude, if not, he looks a lot like him.
He does. He's like a sort of, slightly more normal looking than Andy Serkis, maybe a bit better looking, but not that Andy Serkis is.
Yes, it is. Andy Serkis and Lorraine Ashbourne are his parents.
Oh, so
you see his IMDb. It is definitely.
You can tell it's him. You can see there's.
Okay, got it. First of all, I think
insert
Andy
photo
Serkis
here. Boop boop.
First of all, I think Andy Serkis is sexy as hell. I love that guy. So we get that. That's all friggin' insane. I think that is probably the brutalest scene to watch in this film because there's so much carnage and craziness.
It's a torture. It's like torture porn horror. It's like the return.
Yeah,
of the,
it's like Saw level shit. It's really gruesome.
Yeah,
so, Rob, do you want to introduce the Iron Maiden scene / comeuppance? Do you want to set that up and for discussion, basically? Yeah,
this is really I love this whole section, even why it happens and all the narrative mechanics going on here. It's really cool because Jimmy has gone across. He says, I'm going to talk to old Nick first. Right, let me talk to him first. So he goes over there and it's a great scene, actually, this dialogue scene between them where he's saying, Are you old Nick? It's like, what do you mean?
Yes.
No, I'm not. He's like, okay. I thought maybe you were. And they have this whole discussion. And I was thinking at first, well, the doctor's fucked. I mean, he's just going to kill him. But it does make sense. He says to him, well, these guys now, I told them you're old Nick, so I'm in a bit of a bind. So you need to pretend you're old Nick for me. And before Dr. Kelson says, why would I do that? He kind of says, well, because, you're in a bind too, because if you don't do what I tell you, what does he say? I'm going to feed you your intestines until you can't breathe anymore?
Yes.
Which is,
I'll gut you and
colourful
make
threat.
You feed your intestines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, a bind indeed.
Yeah. Oh, he's so cool. Oh, man. He's like, that is a bit of a bind. And so he needs to perform a bit of theatre to convince these guys that he is Satan. So he's got the right backdrop for it. He's got his bone temple. He's got apparently a stonking bit of, speaker set up there that he can really boom out. He must have some good gear. And luckily, in his meager record collection, he has Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast.
Yes. And so we get this whole thing where he's done up in what looks like S&M Hellraiser, gothic garb. He's got the makeup and he just comes out. There's pyrotechnics. There's like a fire circle. And then there's that weird thing where he's he's got this contraption and he's doing like some sort of like fire show with it.
So cool.
This is a fantastic sequence.
It looks amazing. And this is
God.
I mean, there's lots of reasons to go see this in a cinema, but this is the scene that you really want to see in a proper cinema.
Yeah.
It's because it's loud and it's brilliant.
And I love the prep for it as he's like preparing. We see him getting the gasoline. It's almost like one of those like Sam Raimi put together little bits, or he grabs it. You see him grab the Iron Maiden, then you see him grab his fire gloves, and then he grabs the gasoline, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be good. And then he puts on the death metal makeup, and you're like, oh yeah, here we go, baby.
Yeah,
and
it's the
he
total
is just
satanic
incredible. He is like, he comes out and he's like crawling on the stage. And like, oh my, Ralph Fiennes, baby, so good.
He is having fun in that scene, I think. Yeah,
oh my
and
God.
we all, as an audience, are having fucking fun watching it. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a great dance. Like, I'm sure it was really well choreographed because that shit was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved
concert level presentation. It was fantastic.
There was a lot. That final scene took a lot of time. That was beautiful. It was.
You know, there's also a generational sort of commentary to this because, you know, the Jimmies, they're young. They've never seen something like this. Mm-hmm. And he presents it and they're just like, wow, or whatever. So I thought that was absolutely brilliant. But then, so afterwards, it becomes very clear that, you know, Ralph Fiennes is trying to abide by this contract, but Jimmy's just running away with it. He's like, and you think all these people should follow me, right? This and that or whatever. And then he sees Spike. And so he contrives basically to free Spike. Well, potentially to turn the tables.
There's the bit before that too. The really important pivot here is that he's cooperating with Jimmy because he just thinks he's a kind of a, if not harmless, like relatively harmless in this world, Satanist. Like, okay, he believes in Satan, whatever, fine. And so he's got a bunch of guys. He's probably seen all sorts of survivors come past his door. Do you know what I mean? He's probably seen all the different flavors of coping mechanisms that, you know, these little societal groups have formed in order to survive. This is probably just one of many, right? So it's no big deal. But it's when Jimmy says, oh, and also, so you agree that we should go on torturing people so that their screams and agony shall feed, and we'll keep doing that, and that's really good, isn't it? And you see his face falter, and he's like, oh, hang on a moment, I didn't realize I was conscioning something like this going on, and then sees it's Spike. So he has to make. So it's the whole thing is so well written. Alex Garland has done a beautiful job with this script.
Yeah,
I think it's so well written.
Mm-hmm. But I also love that, like, if we kind of turn a lens on contemporary like society, you know, that's sort of like tete-a-tete between the two of them where they're wordsmithing and people are just, the Jimmies and Spike are just kind of caught in the middle. It reminds me a lot of like politicians, right? Like Ralph Fiennes has his own agenda and he's saying these sort of things. You know, Jimmy has his own agenda. He's saying these things. And who's left? The other, like the Jimmies and Spike are like, the fuck is going on? What am I going to do? And everybody has kind of like a different agenda, but nobody can really see the forest for the trees as to which is the right way because we're all just too busy trying to like kind of get our own, you know?
Interesting.
But I love that Ralph Fiennes is quick enough to turn it around. And he's like, I require a sacrifice. And I thought at first that he was gonna like maybe say, I will sacrifice, you know, Spike.
The boy,
and then keep him
I thought
there.
that too. Yeah.
But then he's like, in order for you to rise to power, I have to crucify you. And oh man, like that just ratchets the tension up. I was ready to like piss myself. I was like,
throughout that sequence that keeps splicing over to Jimmy Ink's face, and you see her buying everything he says hook, line, and sinker. Like he was so ready to just come, I'm yours. Just that fish on the hook was ready. And then when time came and they flipped, it was just like, I love Jimmy Ink, man. That was my favorite. But it's interesting because they set this up where, you know, clearly she's drank the Kool-Aid from Jimmy, right? But then she sort of confesses to Spike,
I don't think he really is who he is or whatever. And she talks about, oh, he's contradictory and he, blah, 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 or whatever. But then you're right. She just buys everything Ralph Fiennes
This is Satan,
says.
and this is who I've been taught to worship, and this is who I've been brainwashed. This is who I choose over you.
Yeah.
And I love that sequence.
And it worked against Jimmy. Jimmy thought this whole time that he'd like brainwashed them. So he gets crucified upside down. Man, I was like, you know what? He deserved that. And it's very satisfying to see him like crucified upside down and presumably eaten, because
I think that's what happens, because I was thinking, well, this isn't killing him. He's going to he's going to get out of this and he's going to come back
get that
next
jump
movie.
scare.
I didn't know if I could handle it. I was like, oh no, I want him to die, I think.
My kid about fell out of his skin at that jump scare.
Oh yeah.
And Samson comes at him. Oh my gosh.
But we should also mention that before Jimmy gets his comeuppance, he stabs and kills Dr. Kelson, which I'm so angry because he was this close to finding a cure. So just to set it up for everybody who either hasn't seen the film and wants to listen to this or has seen the film, he makes a pill concoction, which, by the way, I'm like, where are you going to get this fucking medicine for everybody? Right. So he makes a pill concoction that he gives to Alpha, and Alpha is able to like remember his days as a human, that he was on a train. That's why he keeps returning to the train, because it was his commuting train, and presumably his family was with him too. But he is able to remember that, and he becomes human again, actually. And he picks up Kelson and is sort of like, oh, I love you, you deserve better. And then they kind of like walk off, but they don't really tell us what he does with the body, does he?
No,
I don't think so.
But he does say
he just walks off.
He calls him by name and thanks him for what he's done.
Yeah.
So
oh my God. When
he's speaking, and
but
we missed the best sequence. We missed the fucking train sequence.
Yeah,
so we got to cover that before we go.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's in the train. He's having these memories, and I guess the other infected can sense the change. And so instead of
when he says something, that's the key. He says,
oh, that's it.
He wakes out of a sort of dream, and where the conductor's asking for his ticket, says, no, I don't have a ticket on me. And he says it to an infected that's standing right next to him, who has recognized him as an infected at that point. But then when he speaks, it's like they're all like, in at him. So
I gotta eat you.
That's the
and
sign.
He just John Wicks the fuck out of the entire infected tribe. It was so crazy.
I was worried. I was worried.
God.
I was worried he was going to die, because there was a lot of them, and then it does cut away before he's got out of there. And
but they do like bite him and stuff. And so Scott and I were like, oh my God, he's going to get reinfected. But then he shows up and
he'll be immune. He's got it already.
Immune. If it really is a cure, he should be immune.
Yeah. And then you say there is a shot of a very familiar cottage.
This is amazing. I loved this.
Yeah.
I thought this was awesome.
I turned to Scott and I was like, Cillian Murphy. And sure enough, folks, so after all of this, Jimmy is dead. The Alpha and Dr. Kelson walk off. We get a shot of a very familiar cottage, which is the cottage at the end of 28 Days Later. And sure enough, there is a young black girl, and then Cillian Murphy walks right into frame.
So nonchalant.
The hero from the first film. And I'm like, oh my. And then meanwhile, doesn't look a day over whatever his age was in the other film.
Whose character name, by the way, is Jim, isn't it?
Yes. That was weird, right? So it's strange. Like, is he going to be another Jimmy? So they're playing around with all of this stuff.
He's good Jimmy. He's not evil Jimmy.
He's good Jimmy. It's very wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But
we're getting daddy issues. We know that's what's happening because he sees Spike and Jimmy, who've escaped, from all the carnage,
and Jimmy
they're coming towards. Jimmy Inc. and Spike are coming towards the cottage, and I think he's going to take them as as a father and take them in as kids and
Yeah.
kind of help them. And then eventually
Well,
dad
we
from
hope.
part one is going to come in. Come on. It's
Sets it up so well.
Well,
Sets it up really well.
What's
Dad's
interesting about
looking.
this,
We know dad's
what's
looking
interesting
for his
about
son.
the scene, though, is that, again, Garland's meta level sort of commentary. Cillian Murphy is teaching his daughter about wars, about World War II, about history. And so obviously the commentary is we're doomed to repeat history if we don't learn from our mistakes or whatever. And so he's doing this lesson. They hear something, they go out, they see that Spike and Jimmy Ink are running from like the horde. And his daughter turns to him and says, "Are we going to help them?" And for a hot second, I thought he was going to be like, "No, they can fend for themselves." But he does the great human good thing. And he says, "Yeah, of course we are," or whatever.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I love that ending. And it's a great
great.
setup for the third film.
Yeah.
It's going to be really exciting.
Good. It's so good,
I
you
did
guys.
not expect that he was going to show up. I was like, oh my
No.
God. Yeah.
But when it happened, I was like, yes, of course. It's perfect that he comes back into it at
It's
this point.
perfect. They're
It is
rolling it
perfect.
back. I mean, how else are you going to, other than that cut of 28 weeks later in the first film, how are you going to roll it back to the original? And they did it. It was great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Nice. And
What
we
does
know
Mike say all the time? Chef's kiss.
and we know that there is a narrative point already set up for the third one because there's this cure. So how is they going to piece that
There's
together?
a cure, and I just want them to know that the rest of the world is living in the modern days, that they're stuck in the medieval times. They have no fucking clue. So I hope that comes back around somehow. Maybe the military comes in because we have that dead kid they're looking for from the first film. So
The
that
Swedish
eventually the military is
Yeah.
going to find him. I mean,
I love it how in the first film Spike is like, "What is that?" at the cell phone or whatever. So yeah, it's I hope they bring back the technology thing. But Alpha is not going to be like, "It's the red pill, the green," like I don't know. Somebody has to find his journals. Like,
yeah,
how
I don't know how
are we
that's
going to
gonna
figure
work.
this out?
But we're
I
going
don't
back
know.
to the themes of it's going to be military, and then the anti-military aspect of Killian's character, who saw the military. Basically, that's the theme of the first. The military become the bad guys, which we're seeing in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
very
mean,
topical. Very topical. but-
Spike and Jimmy Ink saw Samson come back, and I think they heard him speak. They saw him come back and clearly looking okay, and they just got the hell out of there. So I think that's how it's probably going to happen, because Spike would even have presumably recognized Samson. I think he saw him in the first film, didn't he? Because there's the bit where
he did.
Yeah,
so
he did.
so the thing is like, how are we going to connect Alpha and the bunker and the doctor's journals? But so Spike, remember in the first film, they get under the grates and then the Alpha sees where they are. Maybe now if the Alpha remembers that, he'll start looking for grates and they'll find the bunker and the archive. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but
No,
we'll
most
see.
likely,
We'll have
yeah.
to see. But yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, that's a lot for Danny to do, though. I mean, we're asking a lot for discombobulated Danny Boyle to tie all these. I'm kind of sort of worried about going back to Star Wars, that we're bringing like freaking J.J. Abrams back, thinking they're going to fix things. And I'm worried that it's just going to be another hot mess and he's not going to tie everything up. And it's just going to be like.
at least, I think, again, the same thing I said for the first film, it's the same writer for all three. So it's
At
not
least,
like the
it
Star
is
Wars.
so
That's
we've
the
got
one
that
difference from the
thread.
Star Wars situation. Yeah.
True.
That common thread. Well, any other further thoughts? I think was a pretty fucking amazing discussion.
And it's
I
a
think
pretty fucking amazing movie. So
It is, yeah, exactly. So
I think we did it justice. I think we talked about all the the main stuff that we want. I mean, it just leaves you with a lot to talk about, and we're even trying to figure out what's going to happen in the next film. So
yeah,
that's what you want.
That's
in a
how
sequel.
that's how great it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, well, this concludes the spoilered 28 years later, the Bone Temple episode. If you love us, folks, you'll certainly love The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema, Not a Bomb, Night of the Living Podcast, Wild Dream Podcast, Death by DVD, Raiders of the Podcast, Backlook Cinema Podcast with Zoe, our YouTube brothers, the Two Johns, and now for something a little bit different, obviously Caliber 9 from Outer Space with Rob and Joe. Please look for our episode where we guested, coming out on January 30th. feminine critique, talk without rhythm with Garo. And obviously, folks, please subscribe if you love what we are kicking out. Then we hope to kick out more by subscribing. So please keep subscribing. And as always, folks, be kind, be open, be vulnerable. That's where the art is. Thank you so much, Rob. Awesome. Thank you for
Thanks
coming.
for having me.
Yeah. Great episode. Awesome.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
So definitely like Empire Strikes Back, definite Empire Strike Back feels, like,
Yeah.
especially when they killed Kelson, I was like, oh, Ben Kenobi's dead.
Yeah,
Maybe he comes back.
He was just carried about. We don't know. He's just carried out,
Yeah.
bleeding out.